Hello, we are Joe and Joss from the State of You, and today we're talking about the heart of well-being and that how you are not separate from who you are in work, and that well-being is actually pretty complex in workplaces at the moment.
Really complex because of all of the social things going on, financial. A lot of people are working remotely as well. So how do leaders in the workplace support their people and their well-being? It's a big job. Leaders need to look at their own well-being to be able to help others. Like, as a parent, you can't help your children unless you put into yourself and have your own self-care. Well-being has really been seen as sort of exercising, eating well, mindfulness. But why don't we do any of this? We're told to do all of this. This last week has been Mental Health Awareness Week, and we talk all about, presence and mindfulness and eating well, but a lot of people don't do it. So what's been happening, and what Joss and I have discovered, is that there's all these invisible, unseen parts of ourselves. We haven't been able to see them, but they significantly impact our well-being. And so today, the Heart of Wellbeing is all about self-discovery, a journey of your own self-discovery. And we're going to be exploring more of this in further talks. So today's a bit of an overview of that.
Yeah, it is. And in the School of Greatness, which is a podcast that you might have heard, I enjoy listening to it. It's really clear. Lewis talks about he talks about it in terms of relationships, but I take that and talk about it in terms of organizational well-being. And that, you really need to put yourself as number one, your own health and your own well-being being number one. Number two, being the purpose, who you are, why you're here, what you're doing. And then number three is your team and how you lead your team. Because it's really hard to care for your team at successfully and long term if you're not caring for yourself. So we wanted to take a little bit and just talk about this old story that we have of who we are. And when we're talking, Joe was talking about the invisible aspects of you, like what are they and why are they important? And it's actually pretty hard to see what they are if you don't even know what they are. So when we're talking about what this old story of who you actually are, we're talking about the patterns of you, the way you do things, the conditioning that you've had, the beliefs you've got about who you are, about how teams work, organizations work, about how you fit into society. We're talking about genetic things that you might have inherited. You might have inherited beliefs about power or strength, or that you have to work super hard for things to happen.
That's
and
a really
unfold.
common one.
Yeah, or that you have to give to others way before you can look at yourself. They all impact on how you show up at work. We've got collective views about work and what you do for work and the history of how leaders have been. So we collectively and affectionately call this like a fishbowl. So if you imagine that you are living in a little fishbowl of your own, because we're all unique, we've all got unique factors that shape who we are, unique purposes and drives. So if you imagine that you're sitting in your fishbowl, but those collective unseen things that you have are like little bits of fog in your fishbowl. And it makes it, when you go to interact with someone else, your assumptions about who they are and how they show up or what's going on will be impacted by the fog in your fishbowl. And your colleagues or the people that you're supporting at work will have different fishbowls and different fog. And so sometimes we miscommunicate, we have different expectations. People don't achieve what they're expected to because of the fog that's in the way. And we just haven't seen it. We haven't seen our own, let alone other people.
And Joss and I have been exploring our own fishbowl and how that impacts how we interact with other people. So that's why we're talking about well-being in terms of being at the heart of well-being is the self-discovery, what's in that fishbowl.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what we've also discovered is not seeing these invisible parts of ourselves, the collective and the barriers and the blocks and what's in our fishbowl can really impact your potentials and possibilities, what you think is even possible in your life. Also means that when you're triggered, you're not able to navigate being triggered. For example, someone might say something and you're triggered by that in the workplace, or one of your colleagues or one of your team members are. So the impact is that we're not able to navigate how to come back to that alignment, and that can ripple on into your day, to other people. Also, too, when we don't see these unseen parts of ourselves, we can put a mask up, we can put our armor up, We can shut down and be contracted. We can also not be curious about what other people have to say. And so these all ripple out to not only your immediate team, but the wider organization as well. Now, what we can have noticed ourselves is the impact of these. They can then block our potentials and possibilities, but also from 1 month, imagine in 6 months, if you held on to these beliefs and blocks, what impact it has on your well-being, on your physical health, and then even further down, like a year later, what impact if we don't see these and recognize these.
And for you, yourself and your health and well-being, but also for the organization in terms of retention, in terms of team dynamics, in terms of objectives that get met or don't, or things that can impact on that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So there's actually a much deeper truth to you, which is we're inviting you to consider as a new story of what this is all about or what well-being can be. So there's the deeper truth of who you are is a much bigger picture than the standard story is of you as a social being. So it's, you might be a parent or a colleague, or you might be someone who goes to the gym or the clubs or activities that you do, and you're part of a wider family and society. But also we're inviting this new picture that you're also these internal things of you, your unique fishbowl and fog within that. So it means that it's important to look at what your blocks to well-being are. The way when you look at your own things, you're way more able to support others, to be able to recognize what's going on for others, to hold space for them. It's easier to help other people recognize and explore and transform their own invisible barriers and blocks. It's also way easier to recognize and see other people's potentials, which is a really important part of leadership, to help other people reach that, which, the ripple effects of that are enormous. So as you recognize yours and have the courage to discover what yours are and to grow and be healthy in yourself, it also enables you to hold space and help your team without adversely affecting you. We were in a meeting the other day where someone had been helping people and they were exhausted. And so we were able to explain to them, you've been taking on their stuff, and we could show them how to clear and support others without it adversely affecting them.
Yeah, it's probably good to talk about that energy equals action equals performance around that, because if we don't have that energy, then we can't put into action, into performance at all. So in future talks, we're going to talk more in detail about how we can help people explore this, lead themselves, be able to then hold space for their teams and colleagues as well. So knowing this information and that how self-discovery is so important for our well-being, this can help leaders in the workplace support and navigate their team's well-being, help them to actually explore these unseen, invisible parts of themselves and how much it's been impacting them. So we talk about, self-leadership, self-resourcing. So these are really great tools for that self-resourcing. It also helps with a leader's intuition, to know what's going on with their team. So if they notice something's going on with their team, if you lean into that intuition, it just helps people explore that fishbowl themselves. And when someone's been triggered, like one of your team have been triggered by something, and that can come out in behaviors or disengagement or performance, how they're interacting with others. So it can help you support them as they navigate that as well.
I've got an example of that. Okay. I was just thinking, sometimes when we're talking about being triggered, sometimes someone might overreact to a situation that you think's in a pretty normal everyday discussion, but their reaction's extreme. And if you've become aware of your own fog, it means you can then manage yourself and then actually see what's going on for them and help that person understand and unpack what they've been reacted to. And so therefore it lessens the impact adversely that it might have for them, for the immediate team in the organization. So leaders really set the tone for their team. This has a huge ripple effect out to the team and the wider organization. And that's why we're talking today about the self-discovery being at the heart of the leader's well-being, your well-being, but also your team members.
So thanks for joining us today, and look out for our future talks.
Look forward to seeing you.